Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how to create a box using variables. And the purpose of using variables is so that you can change a parameter and the rest of your object will change as a result. So let me show you what I mean. So what we're going to do is first is we're going to click on this icon that says variable. We're going to give this a name. We're going to call this the height. Okay, and we're going to just go ahead and just give it a value of, let's say, 5 inches. It doesn't matter. We can change that, and we're going to make sure that it's at length, and then it's assigned. So inches assigned. There we go. And then we're going to create another one, and we're going to call it the depth. And let's just go ahead and call this one 10 inches. Make sure we press enter with the check mark, and then finally we're going to give this one the width. And we'll call this one just to give it different amounts. It doesn't matter. We're going to change these later. We'll call this 6 inches. Oops, 6 inches. And then we'll click check mark. Now we're going to create a sketch on the front plane. So new sketch on the front plane. Press N for normal. We're going to draw a sketch. We're going to draw our sketch out. Click any values. Doesn't really matter right now. Go ahead and click enter and enter to accept those values. And now we're going to change those values. And we're going to call this one, instead of assigning a number to it, we're going to call this the height. There's the height. And we're going to press enter and click on this one. We're going to call this the width. And press enter. And see, it automatically assigns it values according to our variables. And so now what we can do is we can change these variables around. So if I double click on this variable, and let's go ahead and accept that sketch. So now if I go ahead and change this variable around, and I change this to, let's say, 10 inches, and I hit enter, it now changes our sketch altogether. Okay, it's gotten much bigger. So I'm going to go put that back. Let's go ahead and undo. Go ahead and put that back so we can see. Okay. Now I want to extrude. I want to extrude this. So I'm going to extrude this sketch. And instead of going 1 inch, I'm going to call this equal to my depth. Just 10 inches. Press enter, and it automatically extrudes it to 10 inches. Now at this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and change this color of this part. I'm going to edit the appearance of this part. I'm going to make it red just so that it's easier to see. And now I'm going to go ahead and do my laser cut box. And so the way that we did the laser cut box is, let's add one more variable before we do that. We're going to call this thickness. And the thickness of our box, and typically the wood that we're going to be using is 0.125 inches. So we'll call that 0.125 inches or 3 millimeters. So now we're going to thicken the edges. We're going to thicken opposite sides. We're going to change the direction, and we want the thickness to be equal to the thickness of 0.125. And hit enter. I want it to be new. Okay. And then I can continue doing this for the opposite sides. This will be thickness. Thickness. And I want it to be new. I'm going to change the directions. And I'm going to do it for the bottom. I'm going to leave the top of it open just so you can see inside. And we're going to call this, it's not, shouldn't be extrusion, it should be a thicken. I want to thicken the bottom part. I'm going to change the directions. I want it to be thickness 0.125. Go ahead and enter. It's going to be new. And now once I have all that made, I can go ahead and delete part one. So let's go ahead and delete part one. I have all of my parts in there overlapping each other. And from there, I can go ahead and add my laser joints. I'm going to go click on laser joint, do automatic, I'm going to do adaptive pin sizing, and I'm going to go ahead and highlight everything, and I end up with my finger joints. Now let's see what changing variables does. So let's say I wanted to change the height variable. So if I double click on this height variable and I change it to, let's say, 10 inches again, and I click the check mark, what we can see is that now my box has changed as a result. My box size has changed. Now let's say I wanted to change the thickness. Let's go ahead and move the thickness variable up here with the rest of my variables. I'm going to go ahead and double click on that. I'm going to change it to, let's say now, 1/4 of an inch. That's really thick, but we're going to still leave it at 0.25 inches. Click the check mark. And what you'll notice now is that the thickness of my material has changed. And as a result, the finger joints have changed. Now, this is really important because if you don't use these variables and you make a mistake, you're going to have to go back and redo your finger joints. I'm going to go ahead and put that back to 0.125. I'll leave the box how it is. And there we go. Okay, so what I would like you to do is to make a box of any size, doesn't matter the size, but I want the height, depth, width, and thickness to be controlled with variables. Then you'll screenshot this screen and you'll turn in this screen, making sure that I can see the different variables available.